LaxFactor podcast.
What is up, College Crosse fans? We have very bad news to bring to all of the Hopkins faithful that watch us here on our YouTube channel or that listen to our podcast. Jack Rapine, it's been announced by College Crosse and then later by Xanders that Jack Rapine is not going to be playing for Johns Hopkins in 2020. No really good reason was given because in the lacrosse world, it's not like college football or college basketball where something like this happens, you know exactly what happened and why. So we don't know why. I would assume it's not a disciplinary thing. I would assume it's not a grade thing. I hope that it's not a health thing. So that kind of leaves us with just hoping that this is a kid who just wants to be a kid for his senior year. Maybe some things weren't gelling within the program. So I'm hoping that it's nothing more than a kid wanting to take a year off. He graduates and maybe he comes back and plays next year as a graduate student. Let's hope that that's what it is, because all the other things would just be unsavory and not as good. Or if it was a health issue, that would be even worse. But Rapine will not be playing with Hopkins. In the fall, he got limited burn. They were preparing, apparently, for this to happen. And come spring now, they just announced that he will not be playing. He will be on campus. He will be finishing his degree, is what it sounds like. So, we're just not going to know, but it is terrible news for Johns Hopkins. It is terrible news for the College Crosse world because this is one of the best defenders in the country that's just not going to play in 2020. When I picked Hopkins early in the year to win, or just a couple weeks ago, to win 9 or 10 games, Rapine was factored into that. So what does this mean for Hopkins' chances within the Big Ten? What does this mean for Hopkins' chances to continue on to the NCAA tournament after the Big Ten tournament? It's not good. 9 or 10 wins with Rapine was fairly doable, but given Hopkins' terrible schedule, their brutal schedule, it was going to be difficult even with Rapine to reach that plateau. You lose one of your best defensive players, one of your best players all around on your team. Ugh. I don't like what that does to your chances for 2020. I still think they're an 8-win team, even without Rapine. They could potentially be a 9-win team, even without Rapine. But it definitely, if you're a Hopkins fan, and by the Fan Lax forum that I've been watching, and I've been seeing the Hopkins fans' reactions over the last 2 days, it's not good. Hopkins fans, some of you are doom and gloomers. Like Hopkins fans and Syracuse fans share a lot of traits. If Syracuse lost Mullen, this is how we would feel. Or Mellon. I was thinking Mullen because I was thinking about PLL crap. If Syracuse lost Nick Mellon, we would be doom and glooming it up with the Hopkins fans in the same manner. There's some of them that are trying to paint this as like a positive in the way that, hey, we had to rebuild the defense anyway in 2021, just getting a head start on that. No, that's not what this is. This is a very bad thing for the team overall. It's a bad look overall. It's bad for recruiting. It's bad for your prospect for 2020. They're going to be fine. I'm not saying that this is going to be the end of Hopkins and this is their death note or anything like that. It's absolutely not, but not good any way you look at it. I thought Hopkins had a legitimate shot at finishing second in the Big Ten. Now I think this kind of helps put Maryland in that number 2 spot. Now, that's not to say that Penn State's just going to win this thing outright. Maryland and Hopkins can both still compete, but the writing is on the wall, and the reality is Penn State's the favorite. Maryland, I think, was always the second favorite, and Hopkins was sitting right behind Maryland at third. So I think this kind of spreads that gap a little bit between Maryland and Hopkins, and I think that it gives Maryland a very good chance to be sitting pretty come the end of Big Ten play and taking that number 2 spot, maybe even getting lucky and taking the 1 spot during the regular season and then heading into the tournament. So terrible news for Hopkins, terrible news for the lacrosse world. I wish nothing but the best for Rapine, and I hope that all is cool. I hope that we find out that he's just a college kid that didn't gel with the program, wanted to take a year off, and I hope that he comes back and he wears an orange jersey in upstate New York for 2021. But I predict that you're going to end up seeing him, if he does play in 2021, that there's a very good chance that it ends up being for like a Virginia, a Duke, a Syracuse, one of the other blue bloods that are defense, that have a good defensive team that he'll gel with. So terrible news coming out of Johns Hopkins. Rapine not playing, but it is what it is. As always, thank you for watching. You want to support the channel, go to LaxFactor.com. You can buy yourself some swag, coffee mugs, hats, t-shirts, and all that crap. You can just watch all these videos, listen to our podcasts, all from our website, LaxFactor.com. And that is it. Thank you.